Hey guys, Bryan here from Liquid Concepts. So today we're going to talk a little bit about gas tanks. Now, of course, they are going to be a fairly complicated dip with this one that we've got, but let's dive into what all we're going to be doing, how we're going to approach it, a few things to look for, and of course, show you guys the end result on us dipping the gas tank. So let's get started. So let's take a little bit of time to talk about this, see what we're going to be doing, and see some of the problems that we may incur with doing a setup like this right here. And so the first thing is that whenever I'm looking at a part like this, of course, number one is this right here. So of course, this filler neck right here is going to cause a lot of issues just starting out. So inevitably, the customer is already aware of this. He's fine with it. It's mainly just this portion right here that we want to make look as good as possible. But the one thing to just definitely remember is that no matter which way we go, this is always going to be a problem in trying to dip it and making sure that the carbon is actually going in a straight line, because inevitably this is going to hit first. So of course it is going to void out the pattern, and all around in here it's definitely not going to look right. So definitely keep that in mind. Now, a couple of other things that we can look at is that we do have some areas that might trap some air. So of course we want to make sure that as we're dipping it in, we want to try to help mitigate the trapped air as much as possible. So we may not be wanting to dip it like this right here just because it's going to trap air. We're going to have it at some sort of an angle whenever we go into the dip. So of course, whenever we have that, then we also want to make sure that whenever we're dipping, technically we're dipping a big buoyant object. And so I don't know if a lot of you guys have ever dipped some of these parts that are like this, but sometimes they are very, very hard to dip. And so that's another thing that you want to definitely keep in mind, is that because this thing is open and it's got a lot of air trapped inside of it right here, as we go down with it, you have to be ready to push down into the water, because if not, it's going to want to float and fight back, and then the dip's not going to go well. So definitely make sure that you're ready for that as you're dipping it down into the water. Even though this is steel and it's fairly heavy, I mean, it's about normal, but it will definitely hold that air if it's all covered up. So you definitely want to keep that in mind. Now, of course, with something like this, you can already see that we've already got it prepped out. So prep work wise, we've done the exact same thing like we normally do. We blast everything down, we primer it, we paint it, and then now here we are at this process. So of course, this one is going to be going in a carbon fiber, as I mentioned before. So we will want to try to make sure that that carbon is as straight as possible, but at the same time, there's not really any way around it, especially with this right here. So we're probably going to have to black in this area right in here, and then that way all the carbon around in here looks really good. So now that we've got all of this prepped out, you can see we've got all of this all taped off on the bottom down here. We've got our caps already taped off right here. Let's go ahead, let's lay out our film and get ready to dip it. So looking at this real quick, I believe our best angle of approach, starting this out from looking at all of this, is we are probably going to start out with the filler neck first. So then that way we can get all the stretch coming down into here, and then hopefully once it hits here, it's going to be stretched no matter what. And this pattern is going to be pulled in this direction. So there's no way around getting this right here. But once we get down into here, then we should allow the water and the air to escape out this way, which means that looking all of this look really good. So our angle of approach is probably going to be something about like this right here. And so as we're going down with it, then we can go just ever so slightly at that angle like that. So then that way the neck hits first, it goes ahead and voids the pattern out. But then once we hit this bottom section down here, then we're able to go all the way across with it. So let's go ahead, let's lay out the film, get it cut, get it on the water, and see what happens with it. Now you can clearly see I've got way more than enough film for the dip, but what we're gonna try to do is help it to where it has plenty of room to stretch all the way around the piece itself. So let's go ahead, let's lay this down in the water, spray it with the activator, and get to dipping. Now, it is times like this on a piece this big that I am very thankful that we have our activator sprayer arm right here, because it's going to spray everything all at once, which is going to make it so much easier and a lot more uniform going all the way through. So this is where something like this really helps out. All right, so we've got everything all finished up and the gas tank came out looking amazing. So as you can clearly see, we've got the filler neck itself. It is all blacked out. And of course, with the stretch on it, I felt like it just wasn't really going to look that great. As you saw, whenever we dipped it, it had a lot of stretch on it as it was going down. Now, we did get full coverage, but in my opinion, it just wasn't worth it staying looking the way that it was. So we went ahead and we blacked everything out. And of course, we went through, we've touched up anything that needed it, which in reality, thankfully, it actually did not need a lot of touch up at all, which we was super stoked about. I was a little bit hesitant on how that was actually going to work, but it actually came out really well. So we are really impressed about that. And I think the customer is definitely going to love it. So let me know what you think. And of course, if you have any questions or comments, definitely leave them below. We'd always love to hear from you. And as well as if you would have done anything differently, always love to hear that as well. If you're curious about any of the products that we've used on this part alone, definitely check out the links in the description below. It's going to have links to the website where we sell everything that you're going to need, from the film to the paint, and everything is all there and you can check it out on the website. So definitely make sure to do that. If you enjoyed this video, definitely hit the subscribe button. We'd always love to have you subscribe to our weekly tips on anything hydrographics related. I'm Bryan from Liquid Concepts, and this is how we customize your world. We'll see you guys next time.